Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Next presenter, Desirea Horvath. She is coming up here on screen, and I'm going to just replace this pin while I share her bio. Desirea is a senior in high school, lives in Nepi, Utah. She has a passion for music, writing poetry, and learning to work on cars. In 2022, Desirea will graduate high school and begin college in Southern Utah University, studying interior design. Oh, cool. In December 2020, Desiree's father committed suicide. She is passionate about spreading awareness of suicide prevention. Oh dear, yes. Heart goes out to you, my love. All right.
Thank you. I'm here for a reason, whether that reason to be to make a difference in someone's life or to change something. I'm here to share my story and express my thoughts. I remember in elementary school, I had to write who my hero was, someone who shaped my life and someone who has helped me to learn and grow. My hero is my dad. My dad taught me so much: how to cook, put a worm on a hook, how to really camp, and how to make gross fish bait that stunk up the house when it got warm. The list could go on and on, but not only for these reasons is my dad my hero. He remained strong for his kids through his own struggles. My dad worked hard to provide his kids with not only our needs, but our wants. He made sure that his kids knew that we came first. We were the light of his life that kept him going. He taught us the importance of family. He always said family comes first, and he stuck to that. He wanted us to know what family really meant. It wasn't about how much we had, how little, it was about the memories and the good times. My dad built a different bond with each of my siblings. He connected with us on different things. I was the youngest of my biological siblings, making me the baby, and essentially daddy's little girl. Me and my dad had a good bond. When I was younger, it was better, but as I started to grow up, our bond weakened. After his third divorce, my dad started to work harder on reconnecting with his kids. I knew I could always go to my dad. He built that trust with me since I was very little, and I knew he was always there. One thing me and my dad had in common was hiding our emotions and bottling up our feelings. Me and my dad could tell when the other was upset. It started as us asking one another if the other was okay, and both responding with, "I'm fine." And we didn't want to talk about it. Eventually, I started telling my dad I was vibing and thriving. And we started telling each other. He picked up on it. We would look at each other and ask if the other was okay, and we'd simply say vibing and thriving. We knew the other was upset, but we also knew they didn't want to talk about it and wouldn't. My dad was an amazing person and always seemed so happy. When people talk about my dad, they always seem to bring up his endless jokes, the constant laughter, and his big smile. But deep down, my dad had his struggles, and he had battles he was facing. Given those battles and struggles, my dad had been on medication for his depression, anxiety, and ADHD. One of the medications my dad was prescribed was sertraline, also known as Zoloft. Zoloft is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. In short, this medication is used to increase the serotonin by blocking reabsorption of serotonin in the nerve brain cells. My dad had struggled with depression in the past, but in 2020, it was a hard year for everyone, and I believe it was even more difficult for my dad to cope. My dad was on a high dose of Zoloft and was unable to get to his doctor's appointment to refill it. The medication was providing my dad with serotonin, so he was not constantly thinking about his depression. When the medication was out of his system and he had none, it was a complete drop down. He no longer had the high dose of medication to help the serotonin stay. To keep his thoughts of depression away, on December 29, 2020, my dad had given up his fight and lost his battle to suicide. At that moment, nothing felt real. I didn't want to face reality. I couldn't. I didn't want to admit myself that my dad was gone. My hero, the foundation that held our family together, it was gone. He was really gone. I faced problems with suicidal thoughts and my mental health. Before, but after my dad was gone, I was in one of the worst places I had ever been in. I remember all I wanted to do was sleep. Sleeping was my escape. I would cry myself to sleep, wake up, immediately start crying, and cry myself back to sleep. I couldn't eat. I was stuck with thoughts running through my head, the what ifs, thinking he was going to come home and walk through the door and everything was going to be okay, but it never happened. The night my dad committed suicide, I knew something was wrong. I could tell he wasn't doing okay. I was really worried about him. I remember coming into the kitchen and my dad came inside from the back door. I looked at him with tears in my eyes and told him to give me a hug. He refused. I asked again, and he once again refused. This was not like him. He always gave us hugs and told us he loved us. I began crying now and wrapped my arms around him and said, "Dad, just please give me a hug." He asked me what was wrong, and I told him I was worried about him. He wasn't himself. He told me he was fine, and I told him he was lying. I knew he was lying. He talked to me. He talked to calm me down, and he kept repeating to me that everything was going to be perfect. It was going to be okay. I believed him. I had hoped things were going to be okay. Before I went to bed, my dad came into my room to check in on me. He asked me if I was okay, and I said maybe not right now, but I will be. Another thing we said to each other. He asked multiple times to be sure, and once he was satisfied with my answer, he began leaving my room. As he peeked his head in one last time, he said he was going to shower and that he would be right back. Then he chuckled and said, "Well, not right back, but I will be back." I said, "Okay, love you," and responded with "love you." I didn't know that was going to be the last conversation I would ever be able to have with my dad. We're not spreading awareness as we should be. I am very passionate about this topic and have been since I was a freshman in high school. I have personal experience in knowing how suicide affects friends, family, and loved ones. Suicide is a very sensitive topic, however, we are hiding from it. As kids, the majority of us have to get over the fear of the monster under our bed. We have to get over the fear of the dark. Why are we afraid of facing our fear of talking about suicide? Why have we overcome and faced multiple fears and problems in our lives? We are afraid of letting people know about suicide or even to talk about it. There are many reasons why we don't talk about mental health and suicide, such as some believe it's wrong to talk about because of their beliefs. Some don't talk about it because they feel weak. Others because there is a lack of resources for those who are struggling. Whatever these reasons, there are also reasons why we should open the conversation and talk about mental health and suicide. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, in 2019 report, which was retrieved in February of 2021, in 2019, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death. 47,511 Americans died by suicide, and there was an estimated 1.38 million suicide attempts. According to the Centers for Disease Control Prevention, in 2019, 12 million adults thought about suicide seriously. 3.5 million planned a suicide attempt, and 1.4 million attempted to commit suicide. In looking at research, I came across an article, Mental Health, a Roadmap for Suicide Research and Prevention. In this article, it talks about a plan called the 4-point plan. The 4 points are as follows: define suicide as a distinct disorder, understand the mechanisms, fund suicide research, and promote prevention. If suicide is defined as a mental disorder, it will open the opportunity to study treatment options, provide scales and ratings to predict and assess severity of cases. Suicide deals with the mind and brain, which is psychiatry. It will also open the distinction between depression and suicide. If more research is opened, we can research the differences of cognitive control over emotions in different people. There will also be opportunity to study more with neuroimaging and in neurobiology. If funding is provided, the money can be used for research and for prevention, thus opening opportunities for more resources. And the last point of the 4-point plan is to promote prevention. By promoting prevention, we would be able to educate and talk about suicide. Also, it would provide resources and programs for those who would like to become more educated and to those who are struggling themselves. We need to open the conversation about mental health and suicide in order to understand more and to help. In another article by Jill Paris titled, "Can We Predict or Prevent Suicide? An Update," it claims that there is little evidence that suicide fatality can be predicted or prevented. So I asked the question, is it unreasonable to believe we would be able to predict suicide? I wish every day that I could have predicted my dad's actions that night. I wish I would have known what to look out for. I wish I would have noticed any signs, but I wasn't able to. If we are able to use evidence-based resources and prevention methods, that is doing more than shadowing the problem. The conversation needs to be open. This is not only important to have resources for those who are struggling, but to also make it known that they're out there, that they can help and provide support. It is important to point out that mental health and mental illnesses does not always lead to suicide. It is also important to note that depression is different than suicide. If we're able to open the conversation, we can educate the differences and help people really understand. Not talking about the problem does not solve the problem. I still struggle with my mental health, but there are things that have helped me. Things that have helped me and still help me are taking my thoughts and turning it into poetry, listening to music that boosts my mood, helping those around me who are struggling as well, drawing, going to car meets, staying busy, and more. Every person is different. What works to help me cope may not help other people. There are other things that may help those struggling. This could be something they enjoy, something to keep their mind busy, something to block out the thoughts and more. There are also universal things to know that may help as well, such as letting them know you are there for them and showing it. Letting them know they do not have to fight alone. Taking action to actually be there for them. Talking it out, hearing them, really listening to them. Making sure they know their feelings are valid. It is okay to open the conversation about mental health and suicide. It is okay to discuss their feelings. It is okay to discuss your feelings. It's important to really be there for them. When I was struggling, I blocked everyone out. I didn't answer calls, messages, or other forms of communication. I pushed everyone away, but there were people waiting for me when I was ready to talk. You may be pushed away by someone who is struggling, but do not walk away from them. Do not give up on them. Be there, check in, wait until they are ready to talk. It is important for them to know you are there. You are really there. You are not going to walk away from them. Talk openly about what is really going on. There are other options, but these are things you can do, and by coming together, we can all do to help those who are struggling and to help with prevention. Suicide is not an option. You are not weak for reaching out for help. You should not be judged or have a fear of being judged for needing someone's help to cope with your thoughts of suicide. There are resources out there. We need to have more programs for suicide prevention and to provide support. I don't think leaving the suicide hotline out or leaving a poster out for Safe Utah website is doing enough. We need to do more. We can do more. Right now, I challenge you to think of someone who may be struggling in silence, or someone who needs a reminder. Write their name down or keep them in your mind. It's important not to forget. As soon as you get the chance to call or text that person, or more than one person, do so. Tell them what they mean to you. Tell them that why they matter. They are enough and their feelings are valid. If possible, reach out with open arms. Be someone they can talk to. Be accepting of them for who they are. Be united to work through it. Don't let them feel as if they are facing the battle alone or on their own. Be a cheerleader for them. Help be a part of their support system. And in doing this, you could truly save a life. You could help reduce the pain they're feeling by letting them know they are enough and by letting them know you are there for them. They're not alone, and that is okay to have an open conversation with them without judgment. That is helping with suicide prevention. If you only take one thing away from this speech today, I hope it is that you can make a difference in someone's life. And by becoming united to face a problem, we as a whole will be able to have an open conversation of mental health and suicide. As stated in the beginning, I'm here for a reason. Not only to share my message with you, but I'm here on earth for a reason, for a purpose. We all have a purpose. We all have a reason to be here. I encourage you to find your reason. I encourage you to find your purpose. Thank you.
Wow, Desiree. You are such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that it has touched many people, including myself. Wow. Sending you so much love, honey.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to opening that conversation a little bit later after others speak. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, little one. Wow, the youth, they're just astounding to me, these light beings that have come in with so much knowledge and so much wisdom, even in their young years, can teach us all so much. So grateful for your words of wisdom today, Desiree. Thank you.